Hi, Bestie viewer. Let's talk about cancer. It truly is the C word, and sometimes being diagnosed with cancer is unavoidable. Today, we're going to look at some things you can avoid to decrease your risks of cancer and also some common diet mistakes. Take a bite out of Bestie, subscribe and click the notification bell. Watch this video until the end to help support Bestie. Avoiding these foods can't guarantee you won't get cancer, but keeping these foods off your plate definitely won't increase the risk. Eating processed foods. If you're a regular here at Bestie, this one should be old news by now. Eating foods that are highly processed means you probably don't know all the ingredients that went into them. Unfortunately, not all manufacturers have your best interests in mind when making these types of foods. Scientists have found a link between those who enjoy processed foods daily and a high risk of developing cancer. Okay, so avoid processed foods. Got it. What foods are processed foods? Well, you should try to avoid things like chips, soda, those easy-to-make, easy-to-eat frozen dinners, and anything like pre-packed ramen too, just to be extra safe. Red meat. You've probably heard us talk about red meat on this channel before. In fact, make sure you check out our video called 6 Things That Happen to Your Body When You Stop Eating Red Meat if you want to learn more. Basically, the problem with eating red meat is that it's kind of hard on your body. There's something called Haem, or the Haem protein in red meat, which is what gives it its red color. Unfortunately, this is the same protein that can hurt the lining in your intestines. Red meat ups your risk of colorectal cancer. Studies show that red meat is also high in saturated fat, which can increase the risk of cancer in the small intestine. Maybe try opting for lean meats like chicken or fish instead. Processed meats. What happens when you put processed foods and meat together? You get processed meats. Eating this stuff occasionally isn't going to harm you, so if you enjoy eating a hot dog at the local baseball game every once in a while, this isn't really aimed at you. You know about these, and honestly, they're some of the most delicious things on this list. Do you ever notice that things that taste the best are often the worst for you? Yeah, us too. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. Processed meats are your beloved hot dogs, lunch meats, deli meats, bacon, anything that has been altered in some way. Consuming these on a regular basis can increase your risk of colon cancer. This is mostly because of the level of carcinogens present when this type of food is cooked at a high temperature. There's also the fact that some of these foods are treated with nitrates, which not only helps it keep its pink color, but also makes it taste salty and delicious. Someone pass the lettuce, please. Sugar. This is another topic we talk a lot about here at Bestie. Sugar is everywhere and is really hard to cut out of your diet. Not only is a sugary diet linked to weight gain and diabetes, but also the dreaded C word. Yup, cancer. Again, moderate amounts actually give you a boost of energy, and our body does need some sugar. However, that doesn't always mean you need that extra scoop of ice cream. Having a steady diet of sugary foods can lead to cancer of the stomach, specifically your intestine. Too much sugar all the time can trigger the body to release a protein that can trigger the first steps to cells becoming cancerous. Another study has been suggested that sugar is fuel for tumors that already exist. Although research is still being done, basically, a sweet treat now and again, like say, having a birthday cake on your birthday, isn't too bad for you. But you might want to rethink those breakfast donuts you have at the office every morning. Natural sugars that exist in things like fruits are always a better option. Grilling food. Yes, we weren't ready for this one either. But there is some evidence that suggests that blackening or grilling your food, especially things like chicken, fish, pork or beef at super high temperatures, can release compounds that have been linked to cancer. These compounds actually have the ability to change our DNA, which then increase our risk of cancer. But there is a silver lining. We believe scientists love grilling just as much as we do, because they've discovered that using herbs like oregano, parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme can help reduce those potential cancer-causing compounds that we talked about earlier. Booze. Whenever we talk about cancer, alcohol usually comes up at some point. Remember, like most things on this list, if you're a very casual drinker, then you probably have nothing to worry about. However, there is a good motto to live by when it comes to drinking. The more you drink, the more you put yourself at risk for things like cancer. Studies show that 1 in 4 alcohol-related deaths from around the world are caused by some form of cancer. That's a pretty high statistic. Alcohol is linked to many kinds of cancer, including cancer of the mouth, throat, liver, breast, and colon. We know. Red wine is the exception, right? Not really. There's no actual evidence that says red wine will help reduce colon cancer. You know, lemonade sounds more and more appealing these days, doesn't it? Plastic containers. Wait a minute, who eats plastic containers? We don't mean a steady diet of Tupperware. We're talking about when you store your food in plastic containers. There's something in plastic called phthalates, which is the stuff that makes the plastic flexible and bendy. Unfortunately, our body doesn't like these things, and they can mess with our system and eventually up the risk of cancer. You don't have to be worried about touching them or being around them. It's just when you store your food in these types of containers, then eat that food. There seems to be more of a risk when you microwave or wash these types of containers in the dishwasher. There's also the possibility of phthalates being present in chewy baby toys. So new parents, that's something you probably want to keep your eye on. Instead of using plastic containers, you can store your food in glass mason jars and avoid using things like plastic utensils. Not only will you be helping your body and reducing your risk of cancer, but you'll also be helping the planet by reducing your carbon footprint and reducing your plastic use. Common diet mistakes. Diet can be a dirty word. Every day there's a new fad or trend out there that has all sorts of different health claims. Sure, this new diet might help you lose weight, but does it up your risk of cancer? If it's one that asks you to avoid whole grains like brown rice or oatmeal, or asks you to avoid other things like whole wheat bread, then yeah, it could increase your risk of cancer. Diets like the keto diet. Ever heard of it? Well, the keto diet asks you to avoid grains, starches, beans, and legumes. Studies suggest that avoiding whole grains and lowering your intake of dairy, hello paleo diet fans, are habits linked to some of our most preventable types of cancers. Some even suggest that these types of diets are fairly risky and can be just as bad as someone who drinks heavily. We all know someone who's a bit of a couch potato, and diets like this have been said to be even worse for upping the risks of cancer than someone who just hangs out on the couch all day. The good news is that in general, Americans are making healthier choices. We like to think we've helped with that. However, lots of people are still not meeting their daily necessary intake of proper vitamins and nutrients. A good rule of thumb is to try to focus on non-processed whole foods. Things that don't come in packages, like fruits and veggies, or local meat from a butcher shop. Cutting back on things like soda means you'll significantly decrease the amount of sugar you consume in a day. And trying to cut back on red meat and avoiding processed meats altogether is a great place to start. Are you a healthy eater? Let us know in the comment section below what kind of food you love to eat that's bad for you. Enjoyed this video? Hit like, share, and subscribe to Bestie. Wait, what kind of Bestie would we be if we didn't tell you about our other awesome videos? Go ahead, choose the left or the right video.